Hi, my name is Matt Willis. I'm the Market Development Agronomist for the Northern WA Wheatbelt, and we're here in Walebing, Western Australia, to look at a trial exploring annual ryegrass control in wheat. Mateno Complete will be available in the 2022 season. It's a herbicide for the control of a range of grass and broadleaf weeds in wheat. Use patterns will be either pre-emergent or early post-emergent in the crop. So Mateno Complete is a co-formulation of peroxysulfone, diflufenacin, and a new active ingredient in Australia, aclonophen, which is a unique mode of action globally. It is taken up into the plants through a combination of pathways: the peroxysulfone predominantly through the roots, the aclonophen through a combination of the foliar leaves and the shoots, and the diflufenacin a combination of the foliar leaves and the roots. So currently Bayer is exploring the potential for this to be mixed with other products for improving a broader spectrum of weed control. There's been really good results in trial work with mixes with bromoxynil, with ally, and pre-emergent with the likes of trifluralin and prosulfocarb. So this site here in Walebing, it's a gravelly loam soil. Walebing's located about 150 k's from the coast. Probably an average growing season rainfall of between 250 and 300 mils of rain. This site has a very high level of ryegrass due to a spray miss last year of trifluralin, so numbers are in excess of 1,000 annual ryegrass plants per square metre. Rainfall this season has been relatively low, probably decile 1, 180 mils of growing season rainfall from the 1st of April until now. Generally fairly regular rainfall events starting in the middle of May. So this site was, the pre-emergent applications were spread out on the 8th of June, and the wheat, 80 kilos per hectare of septa, was sown immediately afterwards. Got a rainfall event on it within 4 days and got a really good germination. Post-emergent application went out on the 2nd of July on 3-leaf wheat, and the ryegrass was between 1 and 2 leaf at the time. It was moist soil that was applied to it. It had some rain in the week preceding the application, but didn't get any rainfall on it for 2 weeks afterwards. But then when it did, it got a good 20 mil rainfall. Throughout the season, I've conducted a series of assessments, both in terms of crop safety, weed control ratings, panicle counts. And to complement these assessments that I've conducted, we've been using the ITA tool both here and across Australia. So the Integrated Trial Assessment tool is an app which visiting advisors who have come to see this trial can use to blind rate plots alongside me. So they'll then be able to access this compiled data and compare it with how I've rated it and use it as their own reference. This will be compiled nationally to give us a really powerful evaluation of the product in all these trials. So this is plot 1. It's the untreated control, so no herbicides have been applied to it pre or post. You'll see here we've got very large numbers of weeds. These were counted at 1,100 ryegrass plants per square metre early on, and you'll see the panicles, there'll be well in excess of 1,000 panicles per square metre as well. This will have a yield effect on the crop. These ryegrass plants will be sucking all the moisture out, stealing nutrients from the crop, and that will impact on yield at the end of the season. So here we have plot 2, which is 2 litres of trifluralin applied IBS. So you'll see here, we have very good control rating early, 80 to 85% control in the first few weeks, but the residual period of the herbicide has let go, and you'll see that the weeds that are there have grown, they've tilled, and they're now big, vigorous panicles on them, which will set a lot of seed. This is plot 3, which is 210 mils per hectare of Sakura Flow applied IBS. And you'll see a big step up in improvement over the previous plot with the Sakura. You'll see it's very clean in the furrow itself, and just a few weeds coming up either under clods or in the furrow itself where there was no active present. But still, this is in excess of 90% control compared to the untreated. So it's done a very good job with that long 12-week residual period. You'll notice also that the panicles on these ryegrass plants are much shorter than in the other treatments, and the ryegrass plants aren't as vigorous. This is plot 4, which is 2.5 litres of Box of Gold applied IBS. So we'll see here, the Box of Gold did very well early. Early ratings within the first 4 to 6 weeks had it very similar to Sakura, but the residual period of prosulfocarb is not as long as peroxysulfone. As you can see here, the weeds that did survive have tilled a lot more and are much more vigorous and competing with the crop. You'll see in the interrow there aren't too many weeds, but certainly in the furrow itself and the furrow wall there are large numbers. This is plot 5, which is 500 mils per hectare of Luxamax applied IBS. As you can see here with the Luxamax, similar to the box of gold in that you have got quite a few numbers, particularly in the furrow and the furrow wall itself, and a few extra ones here in between the furrow and the interrow. The weeds themselves quite vigorous, the panicle heads are quite large, so we'll set a lot of seed. So you can see that the residual is not quite as strong as what we're getting out of the Sakura. This is plot 6, which is 750 mils per hectare of Mateno Complete applied IBS. So as you can see, similar to the Sakura in that you're getting quite a clean interrow. It's quite where the active is present at application, but you're getting a few weeds coming through in the furrow wall and the furrow itself. You'll notice compared to the box of gold and the Luxamax and trifluralin that these ryegrass plants aren't as vigorous and the panicle heads are much smaller, which means it'll set less seed and compete less with the crop. This is plot 7, which is 1 litre per hectare of Mateno Complete applied IBS. And as you can see, it's a bit of a rate response compared to the previous plot, with an extra Mateno Complete from the 750 up to a litre and seeing an improvement in control. Still getting weeds coming up in the furrow itself and on the furrow wall and under clods, but once again the ryegrass panicles are much smaller and not as vigorous compared to the trifluralin, the box of gold and the Luxamax. So we have plot 8, which is 2 litres of trifluralin IBS, followed by 750 mils per hectare of Mateno Complete applied at 3-leaf crop stage. So as you can see here, got that additional benefit of getting the coverage in the furrow wall and the furrow itself, so you've got less weeds coming up in there compared to all the IBS treatments. We've also got the benefit of delaying that residual period of the peroxasulfone from commencing during seeding to commencing after this EPE application. So that tail end of the residual goes later in the season. You can see from that the ryegrass plants that have gotten through have much smaller panicle heads, so less seeds being set. So this is plot 9, which is 2 litres of trifluralin per hectare applied IBS, followed by 1 litre per hectare of Mateno Complete applied at the 3-leaf crop stage. Here we see a bit of a rate response compared to the previous treatment. We're increasing that Mateno Complete rate from 750 mils up to a litre per hectare. You're seeing an increase in control. Lower numbers certainly, also still getting that coverage in the furrow wall and the furrow itself, but getting that longer residual by having that higher rate and that higher initial control. So very high control rating here. You'd be giving this certainly in the mid-90s. So we've got plot 10, which is 2 litres per hectare of Avadex Extra applied IBS, followed by 1 litre of Mateno Complete applied at the 3-leaf crop stage. The main difference between this plot compared to the previous one is I've been using Avadex Extra or Trilate in the IBS application as opposed to the trifluralin. So we recommend using an IBS product ahead of an EPE application to Mateno Complete because it gets that differential in crop stage to weed stage. It means your crop's growing faster whilst your weeds are being suppressed by either the Trilate, the trifluralin or any other IBS product. The benefit for a Trilate over a trifluralin is it's because it is shoot uptake as opposed to root uptake, you get a much better control of weeds coming out from depth, and that's why you see improved control with weeds such as wild oats, which can come further down the profile. Trilate's inherently weaker on annual ryegrass than trifluralin, but certainly in sites where trifluralin resistance is an issue, it's a good option. Plot 11, so this is nothing applied IBS and with a 1 litre per hectare Mateno Complete applied at 3-leaf crop stage. So what here is underlying what I was saying before with the requirement, the recommendation for having a product underneath the crop with an IBS application before you come back with an EPE Mateno Complete application. Because you'll see here that there are quite a large number of weeds which have gotten through that Mateno Complete application by itself. At this particular site we applied at 3-leaf crop the Mateno Complete and the weeds were between 1 to 2 leaf. But as I said during the introduction, the ground was moist at application and we didn't get a follow-up rainfall for over 2 weeks afterwards, and that's meant that these weeds which were 1 to 2 leaf at application, for that EPE application, were actively growing for those 2 weeks and would have been about that 4 to 5 leaf mark by the time that chemical was washed into the profile by the rainfall event and activated it. So, whereas if you had some trifluralin or trilate underneath it, like in the previous 2 plots, they were able to suppress the ryegrass and were able to get a good level of control once the Mateno Complete was activated. So this is plot 12, which is 210 mils per hectare of Sakura Flow, plus 132 mils of Defcon 500 diflufenican applied IBS. The purpose of this treatment is to investigate what benefits we're getting out of the aclinophene in the Mateno Complete co-formulation. So these rates of Sakura Flow and diflufenican match up with what we get in 1 litre of Mateno Complete. So the only difference between this and the 1 litre Mateno treatment is the absence of aclinophene in this mix. So you're not getting that synergism between the aclinophene and the peroxysulfone and the aclinophene and the diflufenican. So as you see, there is a step back in performance with this treatment compared to Mateno Complete. Same good level of control in the interrow, but once again, IBS product, you're getting weeds coming up in the furrow itself. So this is plot 13, which has nothing applied IBS, and 210 mils per hectare of Sakura Flow and 132 mils of Defcon diflufenican applied at the 3-leaf crop stage. So then once again, we're investigating what the aclinophene is doing in the co-formulation versus the Sakura diflufenican mixture. This is comparing to the 2 plots ago, where we had the Mateno Complete over nothing and showing weeds getting through. So once again, we're seeing weeds getting through, but we are seeing a reduction in control even in this challenging scenario. So the weeds that are here compared to that one with the aclinophene in the mix are much larger. More panicles, and just showing that the aclinophene with that synergistic effect with the peroxysulfone, what it's doing for weed control. This is plot 14, which is 2 litres per hectare of trifluralin applied IBS, followed by 2.5 litres per hectare of Boxer Gold applied at 3-leaf crop stage. As we can see here, what the Boxer Gold is achieving at this site, EPE, it's done a very good job. And we know with Boxer Gold, and the prosulfocarb in that co-formulation in particular, that it's important to get it into the weed prior to that 2.5 to 3-leaf crop stage. This is due to the mesocodal development ceasing at that point, and that being the primary form of uptake for prosulfocarb. So as you can see here, as I said before, we applied this at 3-leaf crop and it was 1 to 2-leaf weeds, so that checked that box. It was applied to wet soil, so it checked that box. But the follow-up rainfall didn't occur for a couple of weeks, and it's meant that some of these weeds were probably beyond 3-leaf when that chemical was activated by the rainfall event. So you'll see it's done a good level of control, but it's just a few of these ones which were probably a little bit bigger at application have gotten through. But even so, for an EPE, compared to what the trifluralin by itself is, the Boxer Gold's done a reasonable job at this site. So we have plot 15, which is 2 litres per hectare of trifluralin applied IBS, followed by 750 mils per hectare of Mateno Complete, plus 700 mils per hectare of Bromicide 200 applied at the 3-leaf crop stage. The purpose of this treatment is to look at the crop safety of mixing the bromoxynil with the Mateno Complete, and also seeing if there's any increase in weed control. Crop safety was good at application. There will not be a yield penalty here. And you can see weed control fairly comparable to what the Mateno Complete by itself is. The bromoxynil probably not adding a whole lot in terms of grass control. It's true benefits we've seen on broadleaf weeds. So this is plot 16, which is 2 litres per hectare of trifluralin applied IBS, followed by 1 litre of Mateno Complete and 700 mils per hectare of Bromicide 200 applied at the 3-leaf crop stage. So once again, we can see here with the addition of bromoxynil, no issue with crop safety. There will be no yield effect there, and weed control looking superb, as was the 1 litre EPE Mateno rate earlier on. So that good level of control in the furrow and the furrow walls, and the interrow been very good as well. It's getting that complete coverage of the herbicide across the entire soil profile. Some of the key learnings we've got from this trial is not only is Mateno Complete very safe on the crop, but we've seen the IBS application Mateno Complete providing equivalent, if not better, control to the all industry standards we have available. And also with the early post-emergent applications, seeing a step up in control, an extra 5 to 10% level of weed control due to the weeds being controlled in the furrow wall and the furrow itself. The 3 best treatments in the trial were 2 litres of trifluralin pre, followed by 1 litre of Mateno Complete early post-emergent at 3 leaf. It was also good with 2 litres of Avadex Extra pre, followed by 1 litre of Mateno Complete, and also very good high levels of control and probably an improved speed of burn down with the 2 litres of trifluralin, followed by early post-emergent application of 1 litre of Mateno Complete plus 700 mils of Bromicide 200. So normally with any IBS product you'd be expecting at best 85 to 90% control, so that's with Sakuras, Luxamaxes of the world, due to the limitation of the distribution of the active on the profile, so not getting any active in the furrow itself. We're seeing a 5 to 10% increase in annual ryegrass control with the early post-emergent application of Mateno Complete. So as I said, we've done a series of crop safety and weed control ratings throughout the season. Hopefully you found this presentation at this trial in Walebing, West Australia informative. If you would like to get hold of the results and more results from other trials across Australia, please contact your local Bayer representative.